Security, escort this gentleman out, please.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.
I'm Roger Algersma. Last week I came for something else and I heard of another problem that interested me. There was a neighborhood that didn't like the development next to it, and it's typical for people to want the neighbors to be similar. It's not just a rich thing or an egotistical thing. I've even found with bad people, if they find out you don't do drugs, they don't want you around them either. People like everybody around them the same. And this neighborhood is a problem because on one side you got a real nice, quiet, serene neighborhood, and the other side you got a busy street, which is going to get busier. It's an arterial street and some apartments. And so the neighborhood sees one side and the developer only builds apartments, so he sees only apartments. I think that if you want to develop that right so that it matches, the one lady came and did a good job of showing the city ordinance on zoning, that you can only go one step different. If they'd put a street next to the neighborhood that's quiet and put a row or two rows of small houses on that street, then they'd have houses next to the other houses in the quiet neighborhood. And you build apartments by a busy street, which is proper for zoning to have apartments there. And if they meet in the middle, it won't be a big change. At any point, it'll be gradual changes. And either the developer can start to learn to build new houses or small houses, or they can sublet that out to somebody that does that. But it would make both sides reasonable. I had a friend in college in Michigan who grew up in Sioux Falls here, and he became a realty lawyer in California and won a big case when he was in his 20s and got on retainer for $150,000 a year. But I looked up his website the other day, and he does real estate law with developers, and he says, I almost never go to court because if I'm at the table when the development is done, everybody is happy. They figured out that nobody gets in a spot where they're really irritated, and he's licensed to speak at the Supreme Court and everything, even though he almost never goes to court. So if you figure this out so it works even and smooth all the way across the deal, in the first place, I think it would just work better. So,
Roger, thank you. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Mayor, Council, and it is indeed the 17th, sorry. My name is David Kramer, Reverend David Kramer from All Souls Unitarian Universalist. I am here to address gender identity and adding it to the list of categories protected under the city's civil rights guarantee. And I understand that this will likely be withdrawn tonight, but I would like to encourage you to consider this down the road and to add this provision. Whether the letter sent from the federal government to the states on this issue is a mandate or a suggestion, whether the argument has anything to do with Title IX or not, or whether the state's Attorney General's office prevails in its lawsuit, none of this has anything to do with whether you choose to do the right thing. You are always free to extend respect and dignity to everyone. For myself, I will say that my faith calls me to do this, to honor the worth and dignity of everyone. I'll start by saying that I have a gender identity. You have a gender identity. Everybody has a gender identity. My gender identity lines up with the sex I was assigned at birth. And I am generally comfortable with the gender roles that society dictates. So I am what is called cisgender. Other people have a gender identity that does not conform to the sex they were assigned at birth. And in between, there are lots of people who are variously comfortable or uncomfortable with the various gender roles that society, really quite arbitrarily, dictates. When gender identity and birth sex do not conform, those people are transgender. But guess what? They're people. They get to decide who they are. No one can tell me whether I am a man or not manly enough. Similarly, no one can tell me if I know in my heart that I am not a man, but a woman. For those who argue that gender identity or orientation are a choice, I would suggest that you try this out for yourselves for a while. Prove it's true. If you are a man, try being a woman for a day. See how that goes for you. See if you can just switch back and forth. Your identity, in fact, goes deeper than that. But even so, when it comes to rights, to say that gender identity is just in my head is really irrelevant. Being conservative or liberal, Republican or Democrat, independent or socialist or libertarian, or any of the many political postures that we can take in this country, these things are just in our heads too. So is being a Lutheran or a Presbyterian or a Methodist or a Catholic or a Muslim or a Jewish or Unitarian Universalist or Baha'i or Sikh or Buddhist or Zoroastrian. All of these things are just in your head. But guess what? You have the right to be any of them as you see it. No one can tell you how you see yourself. We are not talking about extending rights to criminals. To throw pedophilia in as somehow a protected status is distraction. Those who prey on others should always be prosecuted. We are talking about civil rights here, not criminal law. These are two different things. Some Presbyterians are criminals. Freedom of religion does not protect them if they break the law. Similarly, naming transgender people as recipients of civil rights does not entitle them to any special status. It just ensures that they have the same rights as everybody. It would be nice to have a policy that says no one should be discriminated against and just leave it at that. But through history, we have had to identify categories. These include race, color, creed, sex. Why? Because, sadly, some people still can't understand that everybody means everybody. So we have to spell it out for them. Right now, the conversation is all about transgender people. I don't think you can argue that transgenderism is well understood. It is not a question that transgender people are at risk. The statistics of violence against them are great. The FBI reports that hate crimes actually are on the decline, but in the same time, they have tripled against people who identify as transgender. It is not a question that transgender people are under attack. If you truly believe that all people should be treated equally, why would you not say, yeah, that means transgender people too? Once again, the lawsuit by the state, the directive from the federal government, these things have really nothing to do with whether you choose to do the right thing. Doing the right thing is never a future decision. It's always something right there in front of us. You already have a policy that extends civil rights protections to everyone, including specified categories. I ask you to please do the right thing and add gender identity to the list. Thank you.
Reverend David, thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Hugh Weber, a citizen here in Sioux Falls, and this is Emerson Weber, a first grader, a recent graduate to second grade at Eugene Fields. Thank you for the opportunity in general to be here with you tonight and have the opportunity to share. It's convenient and notable that today is Flag Day, which commemorates the designation and adoption of the flag of the United States in 1777 by resolution, not in this case appropriate, but as resolution of the Second Continental Congress. Would you like to hold it? You got this. Thank you.
There you go. You're welcome.
In 2014, a leading design voice, Roman Mars, visited Sioux Falls to participate in an event we hold here focused on creativity and community. During his presentation, he noted that only 3 major cities in the United States lack a city flag. And those are Hilo, Hawaii, which to my knowledge still lacks a flag, Fargo, North Dakota, which is well on their way to putting a flag in place because they had attendees in our fine city, and Sioux Falls. After the event, in the immediate aftermath of that, we had several dozen emails calling on the creative community and recommending that we do something about finding a suitable flying banner for our community. 3 of the organizations in town were eager to do so. ODA, which is the nonprofit that I lead and represent, AIGA, which is the National Graphic Designers Association, and the Sioux Falls Design Center, which is located here in the downtown, all stood up and brought together to be part of the committee to establish a suitable flying banner for the city of Sioux Falls, or as the local news had a great deal of trouble saying, Savitska Bakaka. Something of that sort. Your interpretation is just fine. This committee and the effort it led reflects the true spirit of collaboration in our community. All three organizations pulled together time, talent, and resources to organize and lead the process of education, engagement, and community empowerment. Over a 2-month period, we held a community town hall on the principles of flag design, led by one of the continent's leading flag experts. We solicited and received over 90 flag designs, which will be way too small for you to see tonight, but 90 incredible designs. Worked through a 2-stage panel jury process, which included representatives of the Arts Council in the community. And one of those principles of flag design is that it should be simple enough that a 5-year-old can draw it from memory. So Emerson, my co-pilot tonight, was actually a member of that committee, along with several national design experts. Over 3,000 members of the community voted in a rated voting process that took approximately 60 minutes for them to complete if they went all the way through the 90 designs. The involvement of the local citizens, I think, is noteworthy. Designers from 5 years old, which was one of the top 6, was a 5-year-old, to over 65-year-old contributed time and talent at the prospect of being part of something bigger in this diverse and evolving community that we're a part of. Over 3,000 people set aside that time to review and seriously consider what represented Sioux Falls not only today, but in the future. All of this work resulted in a gallery showing that drew several hundred to see the top 6 flag designs and one clear-cut winner as both best of panel, best of people's choice, and best of show, which is the design that we see here. The public, the committee, the national panels of experts have all given the process and this specific flag their stamp of approval. Over the past year, we've reached out to a variety of city and civic groups and boards and have made effort to ensure that there's been full due diligence by those boards and broad-based support that was generated. The flag designer, when the Visual Arts Committee noted that they were concerned about him still holding the rights to the flag for commercial and other purposes, actually made the design of the flag public domain so that any individual, any entrepreneur, any local organization that would like to use that flag in any form or format can do so without cost or royalty. We're pleased to be at a point where only the City Council approval remains. Many people ask about the designer of the flag, and I'd like to share some of his thoughts briefly. A gentleman named Max Rabkin. Max shares, "I am an American citizen who grew up in South Africa and is now studying in Germany. I'm not in any flag design-related field, but I've always had a strong interest in flags. When I was a small child, South Africa became a democracy and at the same time adopted its beautiful flag. It left a strong impression on the importance of flags as national symbols of who we are and who we want to be. I learned about this competition to find a flag in Sioux Falls from Germany on the vexillology, which apparently is the study of flag design, the vexillology section of Reddit, which often runs design competitions and is also a place to discuss flags in general. Immediately upon reading about the competition, it was clear to me that I wanted to use the falls themselves as the central element, since they're naturally central to the city itself. Using blue and white to represent water was a natural choice, and when I learned about the reddish Sioux quartzite, the combination of red, white, and blue seemed perfect. Using the shape of the seal of South Dakota complements the geographic reference, placing Sioux Falls inside of South Dakota, inside of the United States, while hopefully being distinctive and unique symbol that represents the city." He continues in describing the design itself.
Hugh, I'm asked to have you wrap it up, please.
I will. On behalf of the committee to establish a suitable flying banner for Sioux Falls and over 3,000 voting members, we are pleased to share this design with you. Based on our research, designating this flag as the official flag requires only a city ordinance change. The 3 organizations that I stand representing are willing to cover the cost to place a beautiful flag here in the chambers and in your mayor's office, so there is no cost to the taxpayer and no budget impact. We know you agree that a great city deserves a great flag, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, and thank Emerson as well. Thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome. Welcome.
You don't make these for short people. Let's talk
It's
about
great.
accommodations, Sioux Falls.
Doing great.
My name is Ashley Joubert-Gaddis, and I am Director of Operations at the Center for Equality. But tonight I don't want to represent the Center for Equality. I want to represent simply a citizen of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I moved here from the Twin Cities last August, and I got to be quite honest, coming from such a progressive, forward-moving city, coming to Sioux Falls, I was a little frightened about coming to a state or a city that may be a little behind in the times. I have been impressed and in awe that we are not that behind in the times. And I'm proud to say that I am not just a South Dakotan, but I am in Sioux Falls. I I am also disappointed, though, that gender identity might not be voted on to add to the city ordinance. Again, just as a citizen of Sioux Falls. Earlier, before our last election, I stood up at a forum and I asked people before they were elected how you are going to be a representative of the citizens of Sioux Falls, since that's what you all stood up and said that you were here to do. Many of you kind of beat around the bush. One of you stood up and said that you care about all people, that you respect all people, and that you are going to represent all people if faced any issues of discrimination. Now, you guys all say that you don't discriminate against any group of people, and it says it on our website, and you make it so clear in public forum, but it's not written down that our transgender brothers and sisters are not protected. And as a Sioux Falls citizen, I don't just ask you to add gender identity to our non-discrimination ordinance. I demand it. You have a responsibility to stand up for the people that you serve, the people that elected you. And you remember that you're not doing that as a Democrat or a Republican. You're not doing that as a Christian or a non-Christian. Do not make policy based on your interpretation of a book. You are representing all people. You do that on paper. Please add gender identity to our non-discrimination ordinance.
Ashley, thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Thomas Christensen. I'm president of the Center for Equality. I'll keep this brief for you guys. I do want to say first, I'm really excited for the Sioux Falls Pride Festival on Saturday, which the mayor is giving the opening ceremony. Currently, if you go to the city website, under Equal Employment Opportunity, there's a statement in the sidebar which reads, "The city of Sioux Falls does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, creed, ancestry, pregnancy, age, genetic information, or disability in employment or the provision of services." I applaud the city for being forward with wanting to protect the LGBT community, both with sexual orientation and gender identity. But I am disappointed recently that our city attorney, after getting advice from Marty Jackley, who has made it clear that his time in office, that he is not supportive of the LGBT equality. And now our Attorney General is entering into another lawsuit against the Obama administration, and it's an entirely separate case, and is using this case to block equal opportunities for transgender residents in Sioux Falls. He's using that case as leverage to say here in Sioux Falls that we can't pass protections when it's a completely unrelated issue. As a leader of the LGBT community here in Sioux Falls, it is disturbing to see these influences from our state officials from preventing smart, fair, and equal policies from getting passed. Our school districts are wanting to be inclusive to transgender students. Our athletic associations are wanting to be inclusive to transgender students, and our city councils, our city governments are wanting to be inclusive. But in each one of these cases, our state has came in and swept the rug from underneath these organizations and these groups. It is upsetting that these organizations are preventing the progress that they want to have here on the local level because they're being pulled in a different direction from the state. It is comforting that our city has an informal process in place currently, that they do not discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. The Center for Equality thanks you for that. But what we need now is that promise. This amendment was that promise to this community. I pray that the council does the right thing and they do not lay an ear to the opinion of our Attorney General on a completely separate, unrelated issue. I thank the council for your service, and I hope to see this on the table again soon.
Thomas, thank you. Appreciate that. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Robert Colby, Over the Hill and Gaining Speed. Early in the 1920s, many people don't realize that the falls that we appreciate down here at the park was much larger originally and much better looking. At one time, it from the left to the right, as you look up the falls, there was a 1/4 mile of falls. And at one point, I don't know whether it was a land grab or whatever, but it was determined that one stream on the Sioux River should be closed, and it eventually became what would be the west bank as it's heading north, and that was filled in, and it eventually became part of pit salvage and a whole lot of other things, and it cut the falls short by about half to a third. The falls is not what it used to be because it's been so heavily quarried. It looks nice now, but if you ever wanted to see an old photograph of it, I can provide same, or the museum can, but it was impressive. We haven't had a good support of a lot of our historic events and endeavors, and because of the closing of the falls, one of the streams of the falls on the west side, that formed this Minnehaha County Historical Society, and I'm not trying to speak for them, just speaking as a person who's interested in history. We showed that we weren't terribly interested in history when we had urban renewal in 1972, and many of the major buildings of the boom of Sioux Falls and South Dakota or Dakota Territory's growth were knocked down because they were falling apart in spite of the fact it took 2 and 3 weeks to knock most of them down. The city inherited Phillips' house. That's Hattie Phillips' house in Terrace Park. It was a beautiful house. The city didn't know what to do with it. It wound up being used as a house for the lions and the zoo. A young woman at the time by the name of Hazel O'Connor came to the forefront when they said they were going to tear it down. She had a judge's injunction to keep the city from doing such, and she was going to deliver it at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, and the city knocked it down at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. You have to buy into historic preservation. I still get questions from people on what happened to Dennis the Menace Park and the the anti-aircraft guns down at Sherman Park, the fire engine that disappeared and was rebought by the city. We recently had a celebration for the battleship South Dakota, and if you ever want more pieces of the battleship South Dakota, go on out to Elmwood Golf Course, because that's where the city transported them out and had them buried. And if you use a metal detector, you probably can find a large number of the pieces that were salvaged from the battleship. When you select consultants, one of the nice things that government can do is you look for a consultant to do something that you want to get done, but you look for the consultant that will give you the response you want to hear. You get the consultant that gives you the response you want to hear. So when you pick at a consultant, don't just look for what you want to find out. Look for somebody that's going to give you a straightforward answer. I have to say, I am pleased that the city and the county do support our museum system, but that's our tax dollars. I think the city council and the county commission and even the state have to be more supportive on an individual basis to go on out and support the preservation of our past. As it's been said before, if you don't know where you've been, you won't know where you're going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colby. Welcome.
Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls. Few things I have here to talk about. I'd spoken to some city councilors about this already and asked them the question. We have a lot of discussion about the railroad redevelopment project, and we have a press conference to tell us about the land all the time and all the amazing things that are going to be done there. But my biggest question is, what's rail traffic going to look like when this project is done? So I'm asking the city to coordinate with the Burlington Northern, and I'll give you a year, to do that, and I want Burlington Northern to make a presentation to this city and the people of the city and tell us exactly what rail traffic's gonna look like. Two rail things are gonna remain down there. I've talked to a few Burlington Northern people. They've told me that train traffic will continue as it is. It might get worse downtown around the hospitals or around Avera and stuff like that. I'd like to hear from the horse's mouth on this topic. I think Burlington Northern took $27 million of federal tax money. They owe it to us to at least tell us what rail traffic is gonna look like once this land gets developed. My next thing is I have some concerns about what maintenance is gonna look like on the event center in 15 years. And you're thinking, what are you worried about that for? Well, just in this year alone, the pavilion has, I think, received almost $3 million just in upgrading things to the building. Pavilion, I think, now is going on its 16th year, and if we're spending $3 million on the pavilion when it's only 15 years old on repairing and fixing things, it makes you kind of wonder in 15 years what we'll be spending our money on in the event center. You take that times interest, you know, we got the $10 million mortgage a year. We might have $10 million in maintenance, and then we have the operating because the place will never really operate in the black. And I'm hoping we find a way to budget for this because that's going to be a lot of money. We got $1 million for the siding. We didn't bother fixing it. I see a lot of problems. I don't see a lot of talk about it. I think that we should use the pavilion as an example to look down the road so that in 15 years, the council and the mayor that are sitting up here and going, geez, what were they thinking 15 years ago? We got a mess over here. So I think I want you guys to look into that. And my final thing is I've been really concerned about the Planning Commission. And I know they're volunteers, and I thank them for their time, and I know they don't get paid for what they do. And, but it's just not recent. I know they've had a change of some new members recently. But over the last couple of years, I've watched this attitude of the Planning Commission to rubber stamp anything that comes before them if the planning department tells them to go ahead with it. Now, it seems unfair to the city council to constantly be handed a flaming football, that they just said, we don't want to deal with it. We'll just push it on to the city council. We'll all vote yes. This thing that these people talked about last week is a prime example. They want a traffic study and they want a drainage study. Why can't the planning department give that to them? And why didn't the planning commission vote it down and say, give them the studies and we'll come back and vote on this again? The planning commission claims Nick, I can't think of his last name, sits on there, and not Pins, that's her maiden name, Schmidt, Jesse Schmidt, who doesn't sit on there anymore, they would claim in the meetings all the time that they had to follow the rules, and that's why they needed to approve these things. No, you're the planning commission. Your job is to look at these things and to vote on them fairly, and if things need to be adjusted, you need to vote no and fix them, or make adjustments to them. It just seems lately that the planning commission shows up, votes yes on everything, unless it's political, and then just throws it at the council. And then the council has to sit here and listen to the same testimony that these people brought. You know, we sit and talk about public input and stuff and how it might go too long, but the planning commission had an opportunity to take care of this, and they didn't. They took the flaming football and they threw it at you guys. And it's unfortunate because they should have stopped that and said, let's go ahead with the studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Folks, anybody else want to welcome?
Mayor and Council, my name is Tony Burke and I live at 804 North Caleb Avenue. Truly appreciate over the last week all the city staff with their prompt responses and support of the many neighbors who are asking just and fair questions as it pertains to the rezoning application of 600 North Bonson, aptly called Lacey Estates, which will come to first reading next Tuesday, June 21st. The Oakview neighborhood is proud and are firmly engaged in shaping Oakview, specifically as it relates to the important contributions that the Lacey's and Browns have made in forming the culture of this neighborhood. As we continue to review the application for rezoning and dig deeper into this application, our concerns grow deeper, and we continue to encourage council to research this proposal and vote it down. This application, in my opinion, is nothing more than a simple sketch proposal, and we deserve more due diligence from the applicant. Concerns around pedestrian traffic to the school is growing. Having children cross the offset Locust and Bonson intersection, then 2 driveways for a proposed 140-plus unit facility is going to be an additional risk. Not to mention adding over 200-plus vehicles to an already bottlenecked area during pickup and drop-off with Annie Sullivan. Ask the neighbors who live on Montgomery, Savannah, or Columbia how easy it is to get in and out of their area onto East 3rd Street during pickup and drop-off each workday. Or ask the residents who are trying to gain access to 6th using Bonson during the week. Lori Wilka, a resident who lives on Savannah, is quoted, "Traffic in the mornings on 3rd Street is a challenge. I live on Savannah Street, and trying to turn left onto 3rd Street is an absolute challenge. Even with traffic going only 15 miles an hour, there are many mornings where it takes an excessive amount of time to turn. Going east on 3rd Street, I hit the Washington High School traffic. Going west on 3rd, I hit the Annie Sullivan traffic. What takes me maybe a minute to do in the summer takes over 5 to 10 minutes during the school session. I worry how traffic at the proposed site will affect this area even more. We are studying pedestrian traffic flow and hope to have more information to share with the council very soon. Could we encourage traffic calming measures? Could we narrow the streets to slow down traffic? Currently, 3rd Street is 35 feet at the pedestrian crosswalk to get to and from Annie Sullivan in the library. Could we install speed humps or pedestrian controlled crosswalks? In conclusion, we once again thank you for your time and your energies to focus on this proposal and consider voting down the rezoning application in its current state. Over 120 property owners are encouraging you to do so, and we are here to help you shape Oakview. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Libby Screen, and I'm the policy director for the ACLU of South Dakota, and I'm also a Sioux Falls resident. I don't want to repeat any of the things that we've already heard. I think Reverend Kramer and Thomas and Ashley all did an excellent job explaining why non-discrimination ordinances are important. But I do want to say to the council that I hope you'll consider the ordinance. I hope that you'll put it into place, and if not, if it is going to be removed from the agenda, I would urge the council to have a discussion of why. I think it's important for good government and open government for the citizens to understand what decisions are being made and why they're being made. So I would urge you to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Matthew Capel, and I'm part of the Shape Oakview group. Today I'm going to present some new information about the city planning and zoning regulations that conflict with the Lloyd Company's proposed rezoning of 600 North Bonson, also known as Lacey Estates. In 2009, the city of Sioux Falls created the Shape Sioux Falls 2035 plan. Chapter 1 is titled Shape Community. Goal number 2 in the Shape Community chapter states the following: achieve an arrangement of activities which will promote harmonious interaction among various elements of the community and minimize land use conflicts. The Shape Oakview group believes the rezoning will create a land use conflict by going from a low-density single-family home area to a high-density multifamily apartment area. Goal number 3 of the Shape Community chapter states the following: attain an aesthetically attractive urban development which is compatible and sustainable with the ecological systems of the area and maintain the air and water quality standards and area historic, cultural, and natural resources. A recommendation for any future development in this new building or new buildings in this area would incorporate a similar building style and landscape characteristics of Lacey Estates. Additional suggestions would include the use of a large stone wall, boulders in the landscape, and leave many of the apple and pine trees. Shape Neighborhoods is the 3rd chapter of the Shape Sioux Falls 2035 plan. The section within the chapter titled Future Neighborhoods says the following: neighborhood residential areas shall generally maintain a low to medium density with transitions and convenient connections to employment centers. High density residential areas or residentially based mixed use areas are encouraged within or on the edge of employment centers or adjacent to major streets. High density residential based mixed use should not be allowed within the middle of a low density residential area. In that case, a future land use amendment to an appropriate employment center would need to be approved. This proposed zone would be a high density residential area in the middle of a low density residential area. The only exception is the bottom west of the rezoning, where another high-density residential area is located. However, this high-density residential area was built before the new shape Sioux Falls implemented or was implemented and may be a non-standard use. Also, this is not a pedestrian-oriented urban neighborhood. The closest major center is Walmart, and it would take an average person 30 minutes to walk to. John Morales would take 42 minutes to walk to. Using the nearby bus route would take a person 50 minutes to go to John Morales and 55 minutes to get to Walmart. This does not seem like a high-density residential area. The next topic pertains to clearly defining the number of units per acre. The Lincoln County Sioux Falls Joint Zoning Regulation for RS2 residential district clearly states 5 to 7 dwelling units per acre and 6 to 14 units for RD residential districts. The Minnehaha County and Sioux Falls Joint Zoning Regulations defines an RA1 residential district with between 10 and 17 dwelling units per acre. In contrast, the SHAPE Sioux Falls 2035 plan does not clarify the number of units per acre. Lloyd Companies is proposing 23.8 units per acre, which exceeds all known defined regulations. With that, I'd like to thank the council for their time.
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it. Welcome.
My name is John Nordley. I live at 404 North Locust, and I'm here to speak for the SHAPE Oakview Committee. I took a very simple thing today to talk about, hoping to make up for last week. What they told me to say, or what I'm going to say is, did the Planning Commission base their decision on inaccurate information? Soon, if you don't already have it, you'll have a copy of this 10-page report that we put together. And the last 3 pages of this report are the staff report of the Planning Commission. In this report, we have noted at least 12 inaccuracies in the report. This is the report that the Planning Commission made their decision with. 12 inaccuracies on this report. I'm just going to go through a couple of them. The first one, this is simple. This isn't rocket science. It says existing zoning. It's agricultural. That's right. And then it says existing land use form, low density apartments. It is a single family dwelling on agricultural land. Now, a person looking at this might say, well, it's agricultural zoning. It's a no-brainer. They've already got, low-density apartments on it. Just make it low-density apartments. Inaccuracy on this form. That's the first one. The other one that I'm going to point out is land use and comprehensive plan analysis. In the form, it reads, the proposed zoning meets the SHAPE Sioux Falls comprehensive plan. This parcel is located on a minor arterial, North Bonson Avenue, and surrounded by multifamily, an elementary school, and a park. Simple stuff. Bonson, according to the traffic engineers, is a major collector. A mistake in the form. The parcel is also surrounded by single-family residential homes. Within 250 feet of the property, there are 25 single-family residential homes, completely left off this page. So this is the page that they make a decision from. If this is an indication of the material that comes from the staff to the Planning Commission, I would think, and I want you to study this, but I would think you should take this and send it back to that Planning Commission. They should send it back to their staff, and they should reconsider this. It may make no difference in what they decide, but I really disagree with something that comes out of the city of Sioux Falls and the staffing that is this inaccurate. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Welcome.
I am Mike MacDonald. I spoke last week on the rezoning issue that you've just heard about again today. Last week, by the way, I live at 400 North Locust Avenue, which is directly south of the, 1 block south of the project. Last week, I brought up the issue of potential drainage problems with the property. I'll only take 2 minutes here, but I want to bring up one more point about it. It's come to my attention that the rule is that any property over 5 acres must have a plan for on-site stormwater detention. The plan that Lloyd Company is proposing calls for 2 medium-density apartment buildings and 100 parking spaces, all in the south 2.5 acres of this property. This property slopes significantly from north to south. Now, there is no space planned right now by the Lloyd companies for a detention pond or any detention area. The limited amount of green space around, because there's only a 25-foot setback to both of these buildings and the parking lot, will leave hardly any, or will not qualify for detention. Now, I have a concern that the developer will present this as 2 separate projects, the RA2 zone and the RA1 zone. They will propose 1 low-density housing project and 1 medium-density project and submit their plans at 2 different times with 2 different schedules to build. I don't know if this qualifies them, but I would think that now they could say that neither one of the projects is over 5 acres, so we do not have to do on-site detention. I would hope that the engineering department and also the council would look at the fact that this is a 6-acre project. It's not 2 separate projects, but it is one of my concerns because right now they have no on-site detention planned that's visible. I'm aware of some underground detention systems because I used to sell them. They're very expensive, and I really doubt if they're going to put one underneath that parking lot. And because of this potential problem, together with the concerns expressed by my neighbors, I would ask the council to deny the rezoning request that will come before you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. And folks, just to be clear, they're not going to be voting on anything next week. It's first reading. We haven't even got to the first reading. Just so we're clear on that. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm also with the Shape Oakview Committee, and I just wanted to pose a question very shortly, quickly here. We're wondering, is the Oakview area receiving more multi-housing apartments or units than the rest of the Sioux Falls area? This is something that we're delving into and researching. We are continuing to get facts about the density of apartments in our area compared to similar neighborhoods and areas in the city. We think the density is quite high comparatively and are gathering factual information to submit to you, which we will do in the next week. So far, we've ascertained that there are 28 apartment complexes consisting of about 88 apartment buildings within a mile or less from the proposed site at 6th and Bonson. Both, although this could be anecdotal, but both the local yellow pages and apartmentratings.com show that 12 of the city's 94 listed apartment complexes are within a mile of the proposed site. And again, we will propose more next week about what is within a half mile. We feel that perhaps that's a better measurement, and we will do that next week and compare that to other areas in Sioux Falls, half-mile areas, and to the Sioux Falls area in total. So far, we've contacted the South Dakota Multiple Housing Association, the Sioux Falls City Building Services, Sioux Falls Housing, and gone to the HUD.gov website at the instruction of the Sioux Falls Housing. We are gathering the latest statistical information also from the Sioux Falls Development Update, which was done in March of 2016. This is a unique area. I think most of you know it, but we have 2 schools that are just a block apart, Washington High and Annie Sullivan, and it creates tremendous, enormous traffic congestion. And of course, it's a safety hazard to our children. And I would suggest that by building this additional complex of 6 apartment buildings, 143 units, that our area already has congestion, it has a cold. By building these complexes, you will give it pneumonia. And I just ask you to sincerely consider it. I thank you for your time and appreciate the chance to talk to you and ask that you would turn down.
And sir, for the record, can we get your name again, please?
Yeah, Jim Holloway.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you. Welcome.
Greetings. My name is David Zokaites, and I'm motivated by things like truth, justice, goodness, beauty. You know, on the surface, that all sounds wonderful, but if you dig down a little deeper, it's just a whole lot of trouble. Really, it's a lot of work to be motivated by truth and justice, because that means that I have to open my eyes to the world and take off those pretty rose-colored glasses and see the problems that are really there and go, oh, and then try to do something about it. So I come here, talk to people about problems, hope for solutions. Well, last week, I heard a couple of people talk about human sexuality and sensuality in general as though it was binary and simple, and I just have to say that view is not supported well by experimental evidence. So you can tell I'm a scientist too, in addition to the lover of beauty. Anyway, you know, if you look around at the natural world, if you look around at the way that people relate to each other, homosexuality is out there. I got a girlfriend who's got a gay dog, apparently. The little guy just goes crazy and tries to attack the girl dogs, but he's pretty happy around the boys. So maybe he's a gay dog. I have a friend who had a flock of chickens and no girls, but boys were busy doing it to each other. That's just what's out there in the world. So anyway, when I was a teenager, I came across some guy who said that he gave me a girl's name and told me that he was born into the wrong gender body. All I had to say was okay. I mean, nice, simple, clean acceptance. No put downs, no big to-do. I think we should try to accept each other for what we are and not go off the deep end with all kinds of roles that are not important. We're just people. Some are a little different than others, and that's okay. And, well, that's one truth and justice kind of issue. And another truth and justice kind of issue is that City Ordinance number 117, I'm afraid that I've kept looking at it, and I previously reported 3 problems with it. I'm up to 8. Not what anybody wants to hear, including me. We can, sure, that was a good time. We can look at this ordinance in terms of who it affects and who it doesn't affect. This ordinance is directed against peddlers and mobile food vendors. Well, you know, they don't usually have a whole lot of money. This ordinance is not directed against, say, Walmart and Minerva's. As soon as you think about something like that, maybe you're going, hey, maybe Minerva and Walmart's trying to keep the peddlers out of business. Can you get back up to drop it off? We can't see the items. Thank you. Now, one thing that you don't do to Minerva's is require them to post a $1,000 bond before they open business. But here it is for your little peddlers and your mobile food vendors. So when I read that kind of thing, I wonder what in the world motivated this ordinance when it was written. And in your defense, you did not write it. It's old, somebody else put it together. And item number 3, again, looks like it's not directed against Walmart or Minerva's. It's directed against these small-time little vendors. And number 4, you know, you're going to take these guys' picture in the police department somewhere. That just doesn't seem like a nice way to treat people who just out there to try to make a little business. Now, I talked about truth and honesty. Well, tonight's analysis is a little on the painfully honest side. And not just hard for you, but hard for me and hard for anybody who's listening to this. So the police are free to take somebody's permit, and if you get it back, you have to pay the city money. Isn't that the same definition that you would give to extortion? So that's item 5 there. And in 6, you've got no due process. Police can just grab something. Isn't that the same as armed robbery? More of that painful honesty business here. And at 7, you've got a double jeopardy going on in this ordinance. Not what anybody wants to hear, but it's in there. Item 8, police can revoke it for any good cause. Again, not what anybody wants to hear, painfully honest maybe. I'm almost done. I know I'm a little over. So my recommendation is to just get rid of this thing. And with that, I bid you all a good evening.
Thank you, David. Welcome.
Sierra Broussard, Sioux Falls. First off, there was no silence for the victims in the massacre in Orlando. That is very disturbing for a city like this. Before prayer, we didn't do a silence. So we're back in the LGBT community. Yes, I am a transgender, very proud of it. I am going to be open with it. It is very disturbing when the city attorney's office drafts up a paper that is not for transgender people. Maureen just made up this paper and threw it to council and didn't even put definitions of it and then wants it to be passed as a bill. The city attorney should be very respectful and professional and knew what he was drafting in the first place. I think it needs to be brought back on the table and voted. Obama is probably going to send back a letter because I have emailed the White House. Federal fundings need to be cut from the city until it's done with. We have to put politics aside and do what's right for the community here. We do have LGBT people that work for the police and fire department that I know, just to put it out there. So what are these people going through when you don't pass a city ordinance protecting them? So I'm going to test the city, and I'm going to get transgender people from Florida and California to come here and put in an application within the city and see how the city goes with it and see how they accommodate them in a public format with the city of Sioux Falls. That is the test that we're going to have to do here. It's freaking gut-wrenching that y'all are not going to sit here and let it go to all the way to the Supreme Court to where they make a decision. We don't got time for the Supreme Court here. When Obama wrote that letter, he didn't do it as a threat. He said if you don't add it, you're not going to get the fundings, which he will do it. I don't get this here. Hate crime is on the rise here, on the LGBT community here. It's always the LGB and always left out the T for the transgenders. It's been like that for years and years to come. 46% of the transgender community commits suicide every year. Policemen commit suicide. The divorce rate is high in the police and fire departments. And you got these people that are working for the city that are in the closet. And of course, I would be too if I was working with the city on how they act with the people here. I would be in the closet and wouldn't come out either. There are people that are in the LGBT community here that work for the city. They got to go to another town because they don't want to be seen with the same-sex couple because of what the city's going to say. We're not going to mention out no names because they're in the closet. But you know what? Y'all have to come up with something here. And really soon. It is very disturbing that the city attorney couldn't draft up nothing better than what he did draft up. Greg, I had conversations with Greg on these issues, on educating on gender identity. And Greg is the most open-minded person I've ever seen on council. All y'all other ones never reached out to me. I have called, never reached out to me whatsoever, and I really don't care. But we will get down to this issue. I want a LGBT flag hanging from the city hall to represent the city and LGBT. I want it up there. If I have to climb the flagpole, I will do it. We need it. We're way back in times here on this stuff. This is a sensitivity issue here. We're talking about people, not religion. Religion is a belief. Transgenderism is not a belief here. Okay? If you would know the anatomy, a man comes from a woman in the first place. And if you would study gender identity and the transgenderism part, you would understand more better than just classifying people as cross-dressers. That's all I got to say here, but I meant what I said here. I want a flag up on that flagpole. I will bring the protest right here to Sioux Falls if we don't have it. And I meant every word I said, and I hope that Obama sends another letter to you, Mayor, and I understand that you was pushing for them to pass this bill. I understand it, but it should not have been a political move. Y'all should have already done it because we're a city of 70-something thousand people here. Politics shouldn't have had to get in the way with this. I talked to Julie Briggs on the same issue. Talked to Maureen on the same issue on protecting city officials months ago. And they just want to sit here and write something and just throw it on the table and be bogus about it? Didn't put no heart into that city ordinance whatsoever. So I believe in council members not to pass it because it wasn't drafted up right. Mayor, I ask you and I ask council members if y'all can redo this ordinance and put it back.
Sierra, thank you.
See, now you're stopping me, but you didn't stop nobody else, did you? And I'm not about to stop now.
Sierra.
I ask that y'all put it back on the table
Sierra.
and do what we suggest to do, or I'm going to climb the flagpole and we're going to put a flag here and we're going to protest on these streets here.
Sierra.
Now, I am ended, Mayor. Thank you. But next time, don't interrupt me because you don't interrupt nobody else about putting flowers on a boulevard or about the Premier Center here, okay?
You're done.
Thanks.
Folks, here's the real situation, okay? The council could have easily just gone on with the business tonight to the second reading, and they could have just didn't have done the motion to withdraw, and then basically all the folks that were here to speak to item number 7, chapter 39, the topic that folks are really passionate about, basically would have been kind of left hanging. They just would have not had the opportunity to engage the council. This council didn't want to do that to you. They didn't. They wanted to provide you an opportunity to speak on something that you're very passionate about. That's why the council asked me to, let you know that there's a good chance that the council is going to withdraw this tonight, okay? And you did a good job, I think, for the most part, I'm going to be honest, relaying productive comments, all in the spirit of supporting the cause that you believe in, okay? So that's great. And this is a topic that certainly is not done with, but I think that the indication is that the council is going to withdraw this tonight. As for the other topic involving the neighborhood, I meant it last week when I said I think you had good advice in terms of how you were presenting your information. It wasn't repetitive in nature. For the most part, it was new information. Okay, and I meant that sincerely. I thought it was fine. But I also said something that I thought was important, and I'm not coaching you, and it's a strategy that only you are going to decide and what's going to be effective or not. But I also said that there is at point a law of diminishing returns. And I think that's something that you folks should consider, because it was a different week, but there was much repetitive nature to the comments tonight, okay? And again, it's a strategy that I've not seen done before in the 6 years that I've been the mayor, in terms of having this much public dialogue on a topic before even a first reading has even commenced. It may be incredibly effective. It may be. But what I would urge you to do is that if you have a question involving the development that is being proposed, I would strongly encourage you to meet with that developer one-on-one and ask him or her or they directly what's going to happen with drainage or with whatever. Get those questions answered directly versus coming in front of this council and speculating on what may happen or what may occur. Because I think you're going to find that this council, even the new ones, I just started working with them, but I think you're going to find even these new ones, they are going to base their decision based on the facts as presented. Now, if there's some inaccuracies, that will come out in the first and the second reading. I guarantee you they are going to fight to find the truth so that they can make the best decision on behalf of, here's the important thing to remember, this city. 173,300 strong. That's what they will try to do, okay? So again, the strategy is up to you, whether it's on the proposed development within your neighborhood, whether it's on this amending the code to Chapter 39. It's your strategy. But the thing that is very clear is that the council does allow you the opportunity to engage them. They do. They do. And all we ask is just some two things, and it's pretty clear. Just give us your name, keep the comments to 5 minutes. I didn't ask you to not yell or scream. Or if you got to that point, I'd probably encourage you to tone it down a little bit. But that's kind of where we're at, okay? So good job, good job. We're not done. More to come. The first reading is next week on your topic. If the council decides to withdraw this item tonight, I can't tell you when or if it will come back, okay? And there's nothing hidden in there. I don't have any feet crossed, no hands crossed, nothing. I don't know. I don't know. Welcome.
Since public input hasn't ended yet, but the mayor took approximately 5 minutes out of the public input time.
No, hold on. No, Bruce.
It's my turn.
Bruce,
my
no,
turn,
no, Bruce,
Mr.
I'm the
Mayor.
chair. I'm the chair. Bruce, I'm the
fine.
chair.
That's fine.
Folks,
all I'm going to say.
Here's something that the city of Sioux Falls has to understand. There's no limit to the end of public input. There's not a 2-hour limit or a 1-hour limit or whatever. So the amount of time that I took to engage you, there's no limit on it. So your comment was completely inaccurate, Mr. Danielson.
I'm getting started.
So
I'm Bruce
continue.
Danielson, Sioux
Continue.
Falls.
And now your 5 minutes will start. Continue.
And then I have, I'm going to make this really short. First, I was going to wait till next week to welcome the new members, and I appreciate seeing so many friendly, familiar faces, and I'm looking for a lot of great things to happen over the next few years. And Marshall, welcome. I haven't gotten to know you yet, but I'm looking forward to getting to know you and see you more at more events and as we go by. We have a situation that, over the next few weeks of watching some neighborhoods be destroyed in multiple different ways. The Terrace Park issue right now is something that I'm really concerned about, with the Parks Department going in and destroying that park. And if you look at what their master plan is for 2020, you won't see anything that looks like the current park when it's done. And that's really sad. I feel for the Brown Lacey family and their situation in that neighborhood. And I really want to see things happen there. We have, there have been a lot of things happening in this council and this city since it became a home rule charter. And the people are getting really frustrated with the way things have been done, the way control has been taken away from neighborhoods. The things that happened at Spellerberg Park are disconcerting for the neighbors. The reports that we've had from the contractors and engineers about what's going on over there that never gets reported to this body is really a sad commentary on what's supposed to be an open society. I would just like to say that these people that came here tonight and last week, they deserve to be here. They don't deserve to be talked down to, because they're just like you people were before you took office, just average citizens that are coming to protect their property. Just like the mayor went to the county commission and spoke for 9 minutes and 36 seconds to beg the county commission to protect his investment in property up on that little lake that he's got his place on. This is important to these people. They don't have any extra money to go buy another lake place for the most part. You know, we're all just middle-class Americans trying to get by. And they come here asking for your help and your consideration, because nobody in the planning department, planning commission will listen to them. So they're looking for you to be their advocates. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Joy Schrader, 908 North Caleb. Thank you, Mayor and councilors. I did Didn't actually intend to speak tonight, but on behalf of the Oakview Neighborhood Association, I am here. I'm one of many. And Mr. Mayor, I did want to make a comment about the feedback that you just provided to us. We are average citizens. And as the gentleman over here had commented, we have taken issue with the lack of regard that the Planning Commission used to come up with their determination to throw you the flaming football. And I did come across something in regard to the public notice that was listed at the property at 600 North Bonson indicated that there would be a public hearing held on June 1st. Well, imagine my surprise then when that Planning Commission, they listened to a lot of varied testimony in opposition, raising a lot of red flags about the issues that we have brought forward. And so I went to the city's website, and I have a copy here, Planning Commission Briefing, and then also includes transportation elements. And it states, prior to the monthly Planning Commission public hearing, the City of Sioux Falls Planning Commission will have a briefing on Tuesday, May 31st. So the day before we knew there was even public notice of that hearing. The briefing consists of the items on the upcoming June 1st Commission meeting agenda, and then the members will adjourn to discuss the transportation elements. Why wasn't the public informed of this beforehand? Why couldn't we engage the Planning Commission with our concerns beforehand? So just as you have public input opportunities before you get to the first and second readings of the full City Council, why aren't these things able to be addressed before the Planning Commission? Because as Matt and as others have indicated, and John spoke about the significant errors, whether they just be typographical, just very basic, those are the kinds of errors that we're most concerned with. Who spent the time reviewing that data? Again, we are average citizens, and I can't even tell you how many hours that I and several others, many others, have put into researching zoning. Who wants to learn about zoning? I mean, it's very frustrating. Who wants to learn about the traffic laws? Who really wants to have to study if it has to be a 5-acre or a 10-acre before you need to have a holding pond? That shouldn't be our jobs. That should be the Planning Commission's. Why didn't they vet all of that information? And I believe the report simply stated, and Jeff Schmidt indicated that, the report went through the city water and the police departments. There were no objections to the data that was put forth. And I questioned that integrity because there have been so many issues. How could the issue with the holding pond, how can that not have come to an engineer's attention? The traffic studies, how can that not have come to a traffic engineer's attention? I've emailed multiple people, and I've emailed all of you, and I hope you read the novel that I sent you. And thank you for those of you who have responded. I appreciate the feedback. Some of it was just a simple thank you, and some was a more extensive conversation. But the main thing is, this isn't our jobs to do all the research.
Yes.
It's not our jobs. So we just implore for you as a council to send it back to Planning Commission, make them finish doing their homework,
Yes.
so that they can come forward to you with a better plan, and then you can make an educated decision, and you can appease the people of Sioux Falls who are all trying to become educated on so many different levels. So we ask that you send this back to the Planning Commission for further review. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on any topic? Thank you. Very good.
Y'all come back now. Here.
What kind of morons run this outfit?